So those are the parameters that we're really looking at when we go out to set this up. The other thing that you want to make sure that you're doing is tip alignment. You can cap, you can plug, you can add another nozzle in here. There's no reason that you can't modify it. But if you've got a 6-line, big bed 6-line, and the shoulders are out a little bit, your crop got a little closer, it's encroaching on the shoulders a little bit. On that big bed, it's got a nozzle that's placed out here. I did see in one instance where a customer had capped those for whatever reason, and he calls and he's really frustrated because he's not getting any spray content on the shoulder. And why am I not hitting that shoulder crop? And I looked under his hood and I'm like, well, because you got it capped. How can you expect to get coverage if you got it plugged? So before you go spray, you got to make sure that everything's set up the way you want it. You got to look under the hood. You got to check this out. If you've got too much air and you want more air speed, wind speed coming out of it, you can cap a couple of these if you're not going to use them. It's adaptable. You can set this machine up to accommodate anything you want. You just have to take a pragmatic look at it. On the sides, I get that one a lot. Not hitting anything from the sides in there. Well, okay, really. That's amazing. Why don't you tip that sucker back up there, and now all of a sudden you have a chance of hitting it. If you want to get underleaf on the sides, we generally set these down low enough to where you can pitch them up underneath there. We always angle it back. All of these, like we dusted about before, from a top down. You want to get inside of the broccoli. You want to get into cabbage, especially if it's a 2-line cabbage. Push that down at the angle that you want, and then make sure that your nozzle tips are faced the right way. Have them at the pattern that you want. If they're tipped haphazard, that means this fan's going to be going this way, this fan's coming this way. You're going to be striping everything. So you want to make sure that these are set in there and they're flat. So you're getting the fan where it wants to go. I mean, again, those are all things that are overlooked, but things that we have to do to set the sprayer up appropriately. And if you just come out there and set it in the dirt and you just get in it and you think you're going to go, you're going to get the results of a rushed setup. It's not going to be set up appropriately. Your setup, your tip, size, your speed, the amount of air you got coming out there, the most critical components in a quality spray, no matter what. The technology is designed to protect the spray, allowing what you've set up for to do its actual job. It's not going to do its job if you've haphazardly set it up. That's on us. That's on sales. Every single time we go do this, that is 100%. Generally, when we've had bad sprays, it's because of a bad setup. Technology does its job. It's going to provide you the air, it's going to provide you the vacuum, it's going to shield the product, and it's a bar sprayer spraying top down. That's pretty simple. That's fixed component. Where we go wrong is in setup. So make sure that when we do this, we understand, and I'm sure Ramon will be available for assistance. And the first couple of demonstrations that you do with your brand new machine, go out there with Ramon. Go out there and do it. Ask a customer or a good grower of yours, hey, I've got this new product. We're going to want you to see it. Can you give me a couple of hours in your field? Can I bring this out and set it up? I want to watch the setups on it. I want to change a couple of different things. I may want to change the nozzles. I want to change speeds. I want to see what my feeds are doing. I want to see where it's getting underneath that leaf. Don't be afraid to get down in that plant. Pick a leaf off of there. Check the leaves. Look at them in the sun. You can see where the droplets are. And that's just with standard water. Use a surfactant and it'll increase it tenfold. But make sure that you go out there with Ramon or somebody that understands the setups originally, so you can start to mirror those setups and get used to every crop is going to be a little different. Every crop is unique. Every setup's a little bit different. The other thing that we did not cover that I do want to cover is adjustability of the hoods, the pods. All right, these are bolted in and they're slotted on top. So where they're fixed to the wings, they've got adjustability. So you unscrew it a little bit, you get out into the field and you notice that this pod is closer to the crop than it needs to be, or pushed over too far this way. It's not sitting pretty much center line of the furrow. Unbolt it, adjust it, put it back down. You won't ever have a problem in that field again. No grower is the same. No grower uses the same bed up tools, right? So when they're putting their beds in, some guys use 3-line and they go one direction. They use GPS, or it's not spot on and they come back and they've got a skip. You know, they're off on one or every 3 rows. They've got one furrow that's 16 inches instead of 14 inches or 12 inches. So it's an offset. So you go in that field and you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna have to play the angles here and make sure everything's set up and done. Once you get that done, no problems. You'll never have to set up for that field. The next field you go to though, he probably did it a little differently with a different implement. So that shaper is slightly off. You may have to readjust. You guys have to adjust much?
No, not really.
Okay, so once you got it pretty much center lined, it stayed that way. All right, so there's a prime example. They're running that thing frequently into different fields and they're not having any real issues with it. Periodically in strawberries you will find there's that one offset row, which we had that real problem in Santa Maria with it. You guys obviously know what they're doing up here. So that's a thumbs up for Salinas. Yeah, there was one field that was just awful down there. But they corrected it, so they got that squared away. The one thing in strawberries that when you're spraying strawberries, be careful of the plastic, all right? The plastic's on there for a reason, and we don't want to drive nozzles into the plastic. So check that spacing, check that distance, check out where your crop is in relation to this, because a lot of times this is where your shoulder gets here and you don't have your 7 inches, all right? So we want to make sure that as you adjust and increase and decrease your angles, you can open that up. You can also start to spin that nozzle away a little bit, which will open that up. So again, setup is the most critical portion of this whole thing. You have to understand how the machine operates. You know how to keep it in tune and working and operable. But for good sprays, setup. I can't say setup enough. And that's really the key component in making the technology or allowing the technology to do the most effective job out there. Because other than that, the technology is going to do its job. And it's an extremely effective tool.